This is Jilliana Ranicar-Breese in Brighton, and this is part 3 of my conversation with Alex Pearson. Go ahead, Alex.
Where did we get to?
Oh, God, I don't know. There's so much to talk about.
Music and literature. And
We're in China. Okay. We haven't got to Mongolia yet.
Yeah, we're getting there. So really, the Bookworm grew organically, as we were talking about, and the festival just started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, and in China, like in any emerging market, you have to go with the flow. Because things are happening quickly and everybody wants to engage, and they want to engage both on the financial level, but they also want to engage on the cultural level. And I think our role was very much right in the middle of that for things like literature, but not necessarily just literature. There was still a lot of music going on because of my passion for music. So we had wonderful authors coming through. I remember breakfasts at the festival, because we'd ask all the authors to come to us for breakfast, and you'd have this long table of an author from Japan sitting next to an author from Mexico, sitting next to a British author, sitting next to a Canadian, and they were shouting. They don't get to meet each other that often.
Wonderful.
And here they were in this, this wonderful kind of setting of China, so very exciting. But all that time I still had my thing with music. So one of the evenings we would do at the Bookworm, I called basically Beethoven. And it was an amateur
that's a good name.
open mic, really. But it had a few rules. And the rules really were that it had to be challenging for you. So if you weren't grade 8, it didn't matter, but you had to have prepared. And then you also had to play something with someone else. So the idea was to get musicians to meet each other and form maybe a quartet, maybe a small choir, maybe whatever you wanted to form. But
you didn't rehearse.
Well, they would meet people at the basically Beethoven. So you'd see somebody up there playing the flute beautifully.
Yeah.
And you go up to them afterwards and say, look, should we get a quintet going?
Oh, wonderful.
And that's what did happen. So we had, there were quartets born of those evenings at the Bookworm. And we did a lot of other concerts together with other musicians.
And you were influenced by Tan Dun.
Well, yes. I mean, I loved his combination of the West and the East. Definitely, and he did that very well.
Right.
And of course, by this time in China, there were more and more Chinese musicians, very confident in their instrument, but also testing that within the Western tradition, particularly things like the guzheng, which is the ancient zither, which is what I studied at the conservatory.
Yes.
And it's...
And you still play?
I still play very badly.
Did you bring it with you? Do you have it with you?
I have one here, yeah.
Wow. And the bamboo flute as well.
And the bamboo flute, yeah. But the thing with the guzheng, it looks like a surfboard with strings. And you kind of pluck with one hand and you push and pull with the other. So it's really ripe for kind of jazz. You can bend notes enormously. So there are some great Chinese musicians who are kind of mixing really ancient instruments like the guzheng. I mean, it's so old.
And they're playing jazz?
But they're playing jazz, but it might...
So what do they call it? Chinese jazz? Or
I don't know what they call
does it have a particular name?
No, it doesn't. I don't think
you know, like here we have gypsy jazz, for example.
There's not a genre that I know of that it's called.
I wonder if it's on YouTube.
Would be worth looking up, yeah. But it's a wonderful mix because it's still...
How interesting.
Quite often pentatonic, so it's still quite often oriental.
Right.
But then it's got this bend and this quarter tones and this rhythms that are very much taken from the Western jazz tradition.
Gosh.
And, that's happening with other instruments as well. And now orchestras are also joining, so you might have a traditional Western classical orchestra that will have a guzheng or maybe a yangqin, which is a kind of hitting zither, or bamboo flutes, or you might have seen the erhu, which is the 2-stringed, beautiful, kind of like a violin, but you put it on your knee and play like that. Wonderful. And yeah, so nice combinations between the instruments, I would say.
Gosh, very interesting. So, out of all this, you went to Mongolia?
Regularly. I think those...
How far away was
northern
Mongolia?
China.
Did you go overland? Did you fly?
No, overland.
Overland?
Yeah. The first time I went, actually, was in 1986.
How far away is it?
Well, it's only about, let's say, 500 kilometres to Ulaanbaatar, which is the capital. But Beijing is very close to the border of Inner Mongolia, and then you've got a bit of desert and grassland, and then you get to the border of Outer Mongolia, or Mongolia. So it's not that far away. Beijing is very far north. So I, by mistake, started a tradition, and we ended up calling it the Beijing to Xanadu bike ride. And every year I would cycle to Xanadu.
What? To Xanadu?
To Xanadu.
Where's Xanadu?
Xanadu is now on the grasslands of Inner Mongolia, so the Chinese
Oh, we've all
side.
heard of Xanadu.
Of
I
course
didn't
we
know
have.
it was a real place.
Well, there you go, you see.
Wow, how long did that take you?
3 days.
3 days to cycle?
Yeah, once
Did
a
you
year.
take a tent with you?
The first time I went with a couple of mates, and this became tradition too. So night one, we'd stay in a pig slaughterhouse and wake up to the squealing of the pigs, but a very nice breakfast. And then day
What,
two,
bacon for breakfast?
of course, or some sort of pig. They don't really eat bacon there.
Oh,
And then day two, up and over another couple of mountains, and then into the most beautiful glacial valley. And there we would stay in a monastery, which was just wonderfully peaceful. And
what, Buddhist?
utterly- good question. Yes, I think it was. Very quiet. I mean, just one guy looking after it. Quite ancient, right, and very steep valley, carved many years ago. By the glacier. And then day three, we had to go up what we began to call the Bastard, which was an extremely nasty big hill that took us about an hour and a half to get up. And that's the dam. And once you get to the top of that, you're on the Mongolian grasslands. And then, so you don't come down. So then you just go into the grasslands. And then we would end up in a village called...
Hang on, what is a grassland?
The grasslands are the vast, like the prairies of America. These are the grasslands of Mongolia.
Okay.
And they go on forever.
So are you into photography?
Yeah, I took a lot of photos.
Oh, what a
Yeah.
shame you didn't bring some.
Oh, well,
We
next
could
time.
have, well...
So that became an annual thing.
Right.
But what was so interesting about that, for me particularly, because I did it 25 times. was-
25 times?
Yeah,
Wow.
at least once a year. Make sure you keep fit. You know?
Was it easy to get into Mongolia? Did you need a visa?
So
or-
this is still inner. So this is still part of China. So no visa
I
required.
see, I see.
To go to Outer Mongolia, which was originally, well, it was independent and then it was owned by Russia or taken by Russia and then became independent again, is another country. So yes, you need a visa for that.
And did you go to Outer Mongolia?
Yeah, it's just magnificent. It's absolutely a wonderful country, huge. And
But
it's
they've got their own language.
Mongolian, they speak Mongolian. Quite a lot of them also still speak Russian because they had that
So in
influence.
Inner Mongolia, they speak Chinese?
Yep.
I see, I
Yeah.
see, okay.
So Mongolia was sort of annexed but cut in half. At
And
some
which
point.
did you prefer, inner or outer?
Well, in terms of beauty, they're the same because they are the grasslands.
okay.
But the cultures are very, very different.
So which did you prefer?
There's not a preference. I mean, Inner Mongolia, I can speak to the people, so
Yes.
I can get
Yes.
really into what's happening.
Yes,
And over 25 years, you learn a
of
lot.
course, of course.
Outer, I couldn't really communicate, so
Right.
it was much more on that tourist level.
Right.
But the sense of freedom and the sense of oneness with nature, of the nomadic tradition, and living in yurts and being both good to nature and living off it was really very inspiring for me, I suppose.
Well, this gave you the idea of the yurt.
Yes.
Do they have yurts in inner
Yes.
or as well as outer?
Yes, but the Inner Mongolia is much more settled communities. There are very few nomads in Inner Mongolia now.
Can you
But-
tell me what a yurt is?
So a yurt is a Mongolian tent. So in America they have wigwams. And
Oh, right.
So they're nomadic. So it's something you can take down very easily. Well, when I say very easy, it takes about an hour, maybe longer. And then you can move with your herd to a new grazing area, and then you can put your yurt up again.
And what's it made of?
Felt.
What?
Felt.
A felt?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, not animal skins or anything.
Might have a bit of that in there somewhere, but
Yeah.
it's I think it's bamboo, some sort of bendy wood. Yeah, it must be bamboo, and then felt. So totally watertight,
Watertight.
and wind and everything else, which you have to be, but you also have to be able to kind of take it apart and put it up again. Yeah.
Gosh, and you slept in yurts, I
Many
presume?
times, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a bit like an igloo.
Yes, exactly. I mean, these are all houses of the nomadic tradition, right?
yes,
You have
yes.
to be able to make a house that's movable out of what you've got in your
And
environment.
how many people can get in a yurt?
Oh, small ones, 10, big ones, lots more.
Okay, well, we'll continue in the next episode.